So welcome back to my channel. I am Jason, and this is from Sinn's Perspective Reviews. I just finished watching Wu Assassin episodes 8 and 9. So, okay. Episode 8, it's a lot of time jumping. So, okay. So it opens with Zan. She's walking into the police station. And her little outfit, I still love that haircut. Her little outfit with the leather and those heels are everything. But so she got through security and she got on the elevator, and then she started pulling shit off. Like she pulled her jacket off, like, okay, what the hell's about to go on? Then she pulled like the covers. I guess it was covering a knife. So she has like knives for heels on her. I mean, that was a sharp little outfit. But so she got in the elevator, went upstairs, and this guy, one of the cops, Boyd, who was standing by the elevator, he's all like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then she just went on and gave him a little kick to his face and took his eye out, and then all hell broke loose. Okay, so backtrack before this happens. Okay, so I think it initially said like an hour or 2 hours before that happened. So Captain Fletcher, he's in his office. His wife shows up. She sits down with him and basically told him that she was going to stay with her mom and she was going to take their daughter, and basically how he's never there and how she's basically just tired of being a single parent, and they're feeling like their daughter's not getting the attention that they need, which I guess is a common argument for police officers. They're like on call 24/7. It's like I would assume that it's a tough life, but this is the situation. So he, obviously he's not happy about this, and so she leaves. Basically said, "I'll call you when we get there to let you know that we got there okay, but I have to go." So now on the heels of this, after this goes on, then you had an officer comes to the door and said, "We have the suspect in interrogation," and so he takes the file. And then so it's like at this point we don't know who the suspect is. And so then we see Tommy's in a convenience store, and then Boyd, the same officer who was kicked in the face, and a female officer who was with him, Tommy sees them and he calls Jenny to say, "Okay, I think I'm about to get arrested. Do A, B, C, D, D." Okay, whatever. So they get him, they take him into custody. So we now flash back to the police station. He goes into the interrogation room. It's Tommy. And so they're basically asking him about Boyd, and Captain Fletcher is asking him about the shooting at the club, and then the Russians, and then how they found his guns, his fingerprints on these guns. And he's like, "Okay, I don't know what the hell y'all talking about." And then he decided to sit there and act like a whole crackhead and say, there are forces out here that you guys don't know anything about. There are these people out here with supernatural powers, and now of course we know that, but you're talking. So okay, so he decided to have him a whole crackhead moment and decide there's superhuman people out there with superpowers. Okay, so they're looking at him like, yeah, okay, so Boyd and so I forget. This is one thing about watching more than one episode. Sometimes things run together, and I forget what happens where they said there's a perp or someone asking for you, and so Fletcher goes down to see who it is, and it's CG. CG has been arrested, and so he's like, "Okay, what now? What the hell is going on?" And so she felt like that was the only way that she would be able to talk to him and it'd be okay. He was like, "Well, we have channels where we talk," and she felt that it would just be safer for her to come to the station and, of course, get arrested, and so she don't blow her cover. Okay, so they sit down and have a conversation, and through so many words, she finds out that his marriage is in trouble, and she, was like, "I'm very sorry about that," and she's still trying to find out what's going on with her, but she doesn't really want to say. Next thing you know, the power goes out. Okay, so she's now saying, "Okay, wait a minute, there's something not right here, don't go out there." So he goes out, he locks her in the room, and we hear a bunch of gunshots going off. Okay, so then we have this flashback of when Kai gave CG the fire woo thingamajig. Okay, so and then we see Zan was hiding, so she was following them. So that's how she knew that CG had this thing. So so we're back to so then we see CG. She purposely got arrested, so she was in front. She saw the police car sitting across the street, and so she decided to steal this vehicle so that the cops could arrest it. They're like, "What the hell?" Like, she not seeing this. They're like sitting there in the cop car, police car, and so of course they're like, "Oh shit, okay." So now of course he has to intervene. So now we back present day where you hear the gunshots going on. Okay. So then we go back, I forget how many hours, and then you have Jenny. Jenny's leaving a message for her parents, basically saying that there was a pipe. She's trying to make excuses on why there's damage to the restaurant. So there's the pipe burst and there was some flooding, and so the restaurant's going to be closed for a few days. And so while she's leaving this message for her parents, she's getting a call from Tommy. So that was Tommy calling her, letting her know that he was about to get arrested. But she didn't click over. She continued having her conversation. So it was kind of weird. So while she was having this, after she got off the phone with her parents, Mr. Young shows up with a little crate of produce, and she was like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Young, how you doing?" He was like, "Yeah, I used to bring produce for your parents." And she was like, "Oh, we have somebody that does this." And so he's asking her about Kai and how if she's noticed he's been acting strange. He was acting strange. It was like, okay, Mr. Young. But in the end, she was like, "Well, thanks for stopping by." And so, they say their goodbyes. And that's when she checked her voicemail. And it was Tommy saying, the whole arrested, whatever. Okay, so now we have, they're at the police station. So Jenny, she gets their attorney, and they go to the police station to get Tommy out. So while Jenny is sitting there waiting for them to get Tommy or bring the police officer out, the attorney goes to the restroom. Okay, so at this point, this is when you see Zan get off the elevator, and you saw the officer, and then him kick the officer in the eye, the whole thing. And so now you see Jenny sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, but you can see when she first saw Zan, she already knew some shit was afoot. So she's like, "Oh, yeah, what the fuck is about to go on now?" So of course she kicks him, the gunshots, all hell breaks loose, she hides, and so then we have the metal woo. Okay, so then we're flashing back and forth. So the metal woo is actually meeting with McCullen, and so initially you say, okay, so the metal woo is a black woman, but then he's saying it was some reference to so who have you possessed now, and I think she said her name was Natalie. So the metal woo can actually attach to the iron in your body, so he can basically actually take over anyone's body that he needs to do whatever it is he needs to do. So he is basically sent her to find out where, because he already knows that CG has the fire woo, and so the metal woo has now been tasked with finding CG. Okay, so he does this by kind of infiltrating the police department. He takes over a police officer who was the officer who accompanied Boyd to arrest Tommy. So Officer Riley is the person that the metal was taken over, and she's found out who CG is. And the thing is, when they came back, when they came back from arresting Tommy, she actually saw CG being led to the back in handcuffs. So now she's like, okay. So then she sends a text saying, okay, she's here. And then of course they was like, okay, I'm on my way. So that's when Zan arrived. So again, it's a lot of going back like 4 hours and then coming back and then going 12 hours and coming back and going back 3 hours. So it's a lot of that in this episode. So seeing how all these people and these pieces connect, how they all ended up in the same place. Okay, so it's a whole thing going on. Zan is killing everybody. All the officers are being killed. It's a lot. It was just chaos. If you could just imagine a police station, everybody's shooting. Obviously, everybody got guns, and of course, Zan is just walking through like it's nothing, shooting, killing people, and kicking everybody's ass, and it's not a thing. So Riley ends up going to CG, but of course, obviously, CG doesn't know who. She just thinks that this is another officer. But So she goes to open the door and say, okay, we need to go. And it was something that kind of, her CG Spidey senses was tingling. So she ends up zapping the shit out of Officer Riley and make it going her own way. So she's trying to get back to the property room because when they arrested her, they took her bag. Her bag actually has the firewood talisman in it. So she's trying to make it back to the property room. But on her way, what happened? On her way, she runs into, she saw Zan. Zan, she was out of bullets. I guess she had already killed. She had shot an officer and was kneeling down to get the gun. Okay, so ZG now goes and now she's fighting Zan. And so then eventually Jenny jumps in. So they basically have to tag team her ass. She was fucking them up, but they basically had to tag team her ass. But they eventually like choked her out until she passed out and then handcuffed her and the whole thing. But doing this whole melee, Zan had pulled her heel off and CG had stabbed her in the back with her heel. I mean, they got a couple of good looks in, but they got the worst of it, and it took both of them to take her down. But okay, so right to say, Tommy. He comes out of the interrogation room. He's like, okay, what the hell's going on? So he runs through the nearest exit. He's about to run downstairs, and he sees McLaughlin, but he doesn't know who that is. So he just thinks it's just some guy. So he's like, okay, you should probably leave. You should probably leave. And so, but of course, McLaughlin's standing there like, Tommy, why is it? And so, of course, he thought, okay, that's fucked up. That's kind of weird. I don't know you. How do you know me? So he heads back upstairs and runs back through the door. Okay, so CG and Zan makes it to the property room. They got the firewood thingamabob. Okay, so around this time, Captain Fletcher, he makes it to the room, one of the rooms. He sees Officer Riley on the ground, and so of course his instinct is to help her. He doesn't know any different, and so Officer Riley, the metal wounds goes from Officer Riley to Captain Fletcher. So now there's the standoff. So you have McLaughlin, Tommy, Jenny, and CG. So and Zan. So McLaughlin and Zan is actually holding Tommy as basically hostage, like trade for trade. So they like, we'll give you Tommy if you give us the firewood thingy me bob. So in the end, Jenny ends up getting the firewood talisman and absorbing it, and now she's the firewood. Okay, but of course this is a new power. She really doesn't know how to use it. So then they see Captain Fletcher, and there's like, well, there's three. No, it was because it was So it's 3 against 1. So because it was just no. What happened was, okay. So Captain Fletcher comes in. Captain McLaughlin tells Captain the Metalwood to take CG. So now CG is now in the Metalwood. So now she's like, okay, it's 3 against 1. So you have McLaughlin, Zan, and CG. And so, of course, at this point, Jenny is outnumbered, and now there's a standoff. Like, you need to, what are you going to do? Are you going to give us what we want? Because at this point, McLaughlin had already stabbed Tommy, so Tommy's now slowly bleeding to death. So, what's it going to be? You going to save your brother, or are you going to give us what we want? And so, that's basically how the episode ended. Like, okay, so what is she going to do? That's basically how episode 8 ended. So like I said, it was a lot of back and forth, a lot. So episode 9. Starting to get my notes together. So episode 9 picks up. There's the scene. They're in Croatia. So you have this woman. She's sitting at a table playing this intense game of, I don't know, poker or whatever she's playing with this man. And they had a whole lot of money up on the table, and then he eventually puts this box up on the table that has this piece. It's supposed to be priceless. I don't know. It's some relic, and that he put up there also to increase his bet. He actually wins the hand, and that's when you find out he was like basically he referred to her as Miss Jones. That's when you find out Miss Jones is actually the Waterwoo. So he won, but she ends up killing him and taking, because what she really wanted was the relic. So she got that. And then we go back to, so now we have Uncle Six. He's standing on the corner, and Zan pulls up. She has her little chauffeur driven her little car, whatever. And she pulls up. So now we obviously know that Six isn't dead. That Lou didn't kill Six. So they meet and they have a conversation. And she basically tells him that you don't have a dog in this fight. Basically, you don't have any powers anymore. She gave him the rundown about what's going on with Tommy, Jenny, and CG. And this is what McLaughlin wants. He wants Kai. And basically his list of demands. And she told him that the next time that I see you, I'm going to kill you. This is what she says to Six. So he basically just like, you're just so young and so foolish, and you know not what you do, and you're new to having all this power, and so you really don't know. You could tell that she's very childlike with it. She's not. It just wasn't. It's how she's handling. He's basically letting her how she's handling herself is not. Is not like you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into, and that was their party when she said, "Next time I see you, I'm kill you." So that was basically how they parted. Okay, so now we're back to Kai, Lou, and Six. So they're back in. I'm assuming that was Kai's apartment. And they're trying to decide what to do. Lou just wants to give McLaughlin what he wants so he can get Jenny and Tommy back. And of course, Six is like, this is about the greater good. You can't, he's like, you can't be selfish. You have to do what's best for the greater good. And unfortunately, I mean, he didn't say this, but I mean, there are going to be casualties. And Lou he's just like, give him what he wants. So next the phone rings. It's McLaughlin basically saying that he wants him to bring him the Earth Woo, and Six is like no. And so he tells him that the Earth Woo was dead, and so he said, okay, well, bring me the Earth Woo talisman. I'm just gonna call I don't know talisman. We're just gonna say that. And Kai basically said no, he's not going to do it. And so of course Lou was upset, and they decide they're going to they have to come up with a plan of how they're going to get Tommy and Jenny. And so Lou and Kai leave to go do something. I'm not sure, but they're talking in the car, and he was basically telling him that. He just basically thanked him for not killing Six. And, Tommy's like, well, he deserved it for what he's done to us. And he's like, I know, but thank you for not killing him. So they had their little moment in the car. And so McLaughlin, he goes to talk to Jenny. He has her in some container or something. And he basically, he played the recording. He recorded the conversation of Kai saying no, he wouldn't give him what he wanted in exchange for Tommy and Jenny's life. And Jenny was basically like, this is bigger than me. It's about all of us. Basically, that was just her thing, and he's going to do what's right. And McLaughlin basically was like, what she said was, it's impossible. He wants her to convince Kai to give him what he wants. And she said it's impossible. He's basically a man of principles, and he's not easily swayed. And McLaughlin was basically like, impossible to me just means inevitable. I've lived long enough to see things that people thought would never happen basically come to fruition, and basically it's only a matter of time. And so eventually I'm going to get what I want anyway. So it just basically depends on how many bodies I'm going to have to step over in order to get it. But eventually I'm going to get what I want. So he left her with that little piece of info, and he left for her to think about it. Okay, so the water woo appears, and she gives McLaughlin the relic. And so he told her that the metal woo was there. And she's like, okay. Actually, she wanted to know the Boo assassin. She wants to kill Kai. And these are not quite yet. But he told her that the metal woo was there. Okay, so then we flash to Tommy and CG, who is, aka Gideon, who was the metal woo. And so for whatever, he had some kind of I think he was about to stab Tommy in the eye, and then you kind of got a glimpse inside his head where you could see CG. She's trying to fight her way out, like she's handcuffed, and he's like in there taunting her, and this whole thing. She's just trying to find her way out, and she briefly takes over and tells Tommy that she called Kai to let Kai know what was going on and how he had taken over her body to hold this, that, and the third. Okay, and so next you know, the water woo walks in, and apparently the water woo and the metal woo have some little situation. So the water woo leads CG off somewhere, and we don't know what happened. They just went off after she kissed her. They just walked on off. Okay, whatever. Okay, so 6, I guess he went to meet with his men, because he did tell Zan that there are men that are still loyal to him, but Zan was there, and she was basically like, okay, the last time we spoke, I told you next time that I see you, I'm going to kill you. And so he's like, okay. So they decide that they go for what was supposed to be, I guess, a fight. So he pulled his coat off and pulled his jacket off, and then she ends up shooting him in the leg. So he's now already at a disadvantage. So then after that happens, then we flash to Lou and Kai. They get to the shipyard where Tommy and Jenny are being held, and they, obviously this whole fight ensues. The door opens, Jenny gets out, but it was all a setup. He knew they would eventually come, but so he left Jenny there to give them the note, to give them this note of his demands and where to meet and the whole thing. Okay, but they still had Tommy, and Tommy again is still slowly bleeding to death. And so she was like, I have to go back. If you don't show up, they're going to kill Tommy. If I don't go back, they're going to kill Tommy. So she ended up having to go back, and so you see her, and she met up with CG and Zan. No, was Zan there? CG, I think it was Zan maybe, and the Water Woo and 2 of McLaughlin's henchmen, I guess. And so CG is asking Jenny, okay, so what's the plan? Then you realize CG is not in control anymore. It's Gideon. So you can see CG saying, don't say anything to him, Jenny. Please don't tell him anything. No, please don't tell him anything. And so at this point, Jenny hasn't said anything, and then she sees Tommy. Tommy's basically laid out on the ground, and again still bleeding, and they're having their little heart to heart, and she's like, I'm sorry for never listening to you, and it's right now it's like touch and go, because you see he's pale, he's lost a lot of blood, and at this point we really don't know what's going to happen. So then Kai and Lou go back to his apartment, and Lou automatically was like, well, I told you we couldn't trust 6. He went back to the triad, and Kai was like, we don't know that. So Kai gets a phone call. It's a video, and it's of Zan. So you see 6, he's all beat the fuck up. He's all fucked up. And then you see Zan, she pulls out a gun and she blows his head. She shoots him in the head. And at this point, we are to assume that Uncle 6 is dead. So that's how episode 9 ended. So it was a lot happened in these last 2 episodes. So I'm probably going to watch 10 tonight and let's get it over with, because the Dark Crystal starts on Friday, and if you are not a child of the 80s and 90s, you would not know what I'm talking about. Dark Crystal was everything when I was a kid. So they're actually coming out with the series, so that's going to start on Friday. So I do want to finish up so that I can start on that. But yeah, I am loving this show. I do hope, I haven't read anything, but I hope they are renewed for a second season. But I guess I'm about to wait and see how 10 ends to see if what's what. But yeah, good show. And I will be back with my recap of episode 10. So I will talk to you guys later.